Hare Krishna. We'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadankitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Shri Lalita Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindeshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. Hare Krishna. I welcome to the second session of Bhagavad Gita level 2 online classes. So first, today we will see the demo. So Aishwarya Mataji will show the demo for the quizzes in level 2. Post that, we'll continue our class. Aishwarya Mataji, over to you.
Yes, Prabhuji. I'll start sharing my screen.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So all of you who have completed level 1 should know your login details. So once you know your login details, just log into your account. And you have to select the option called select course. And once you do select course, you have to choose Bhakti Vriksha, that is the level 2. Just wait a few minutes, the page is loading. And do not refresh it, yeah. So you have to go all the way down and you have to choose Bhakti Vriksha English and you have to click enroll. And once you do, you have to click take this course. Only when you do this, you can start accessing these chapters, yeah. And then you can choose what after every session, Saturday, Sunday, please sit on Monday and finish these quizzes because it's easier. And just go click on start quiz and you can start taking the quiz. So these answers could be somewhere between 1 to 2 lines. And this can be found in first chapter, first shloka. So these kind of hints will be given to you. If there's any doubts, please message me in the group. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this link would be available from tomorrow onwards, right, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, from tomorrow onwards.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay. Some background noise. I'll have to just mute all. Sorry. Okay. That's fine. And so I'll take your help with the digital hand. Yeah. And so we'll just do a recap of what we have discussed yesterday. Yeah. So anyone remembers any of the points? They can raise the digital hand. I'll unmute them. So any points, even random points are also okay. Okay. Pankaj, Prabhu, you can go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare
And
Krishna.
one request, if devotees can switch on their videos, right? It will be good because we are all on online and we are associating with each other, right? If we see the faces and all, right, the interaction would be much better. Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. Sukant Prabhu actually opened the video. Yeah, rest all you can do unless you have any constraint. So I leave those exceptional cases. If not, then you all can switch on the videos. Okay, Pankaj Prabhu, you can go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanavad.
Yesterday, we learned uh, uh, about ISKCON. We learned about Srila Prabhupada ji. We learned about the mantras that we need to like recite, like Mangala Acharan mantra and different mantras. Then
Yes, Prabhu.
we learned about the chanting and why we should be chanting on Tulsi Mala, Tulsi Japmala beads. Um, then then we moved towards like understanding the Gita. There was and yeah, so we are on the first chapter where Arjuna, where the conversation is right now between the Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. So yes, Prabhuji, a gist of like highlight of this.
Yes,
Hare.
Prabhu. Yeah, thank you for summarizing things. Yeah, so I think we spent yesterday quite a good time in understanding the theme and other things. Yeah? And we just entered into the Bhagavad Gita first chapter and did 10 slokas. Yeah. So we'll proceed further. Yeah. So yesterday's discussion was mostly about Dhritarashtra, right? So wherein we could see his mentality, right? So it's a crude mentality. So he was supporting adharma, right? So though he knew what is dharma, but due to his putra moha, right? So he he couldn't see what is right and wrong, and then he always was hankering towards greed and power, yeah, because he himself wanted to be a king, because he was blind, he couldn't get that. So he wanted his sons to rule the kingdom, and then they should be the king. So I think that's the thing which made him to think always adharmic, yeah? And he never considered his own brother's son as his own son, yeah. So always there was a distinction, and then even he tried to kill them, right? So there were different ways he tried. Then Mahabharat, we know, but so post that he asked a question to which Sanjay replied, and the next character was Duryodhan, yeah. So who is a pure diplomat, so fit to be a diplomat. And then by seeing Pandava's army, the way it was arranged, he goes to his commander-in-chief Drona, and therein he starts the conversation. He actually highlights some of the pain points, and then he actually instigates Drona, and then he does a comparison of the armies of both the sides, first from the Pandavas and next towards the Kauravas, yeah. And then he even utters a word which is very negative, saying that before the start of the war itself, he says that there are so many people who are ready to give up their lives or end up their lives. So in here we stopped yesterday. So, and the next is he did a comparison. Okay, he was doing a comparison, and then he felt that his side of the army is bigger. And then so he says that he has much better army compared to the Pandavas. Yeah. So I say if you look at the Senas and all those things, right? It is very detailed, but if you look right, the army size of Pandavas was 7 Akshoni and Kauravas had 11. And commander-in-chief was only Drishtadimna, but here we have so many. Yeah. So strength-wise, army-wise, Kauravas were having more strength. Yeah. So that is what he says. We have immeasurable and insufficient army. Yeah. And then it is protected by Bhishma. Okay. And post that Bhishma to boost Duryodhana, right? He actually blowed his conch shell. Okay. So to boost the energy levels of Dhritarashtra, sorry, Duryodhana. And one more thing is here, Duryodhana was confident, okay, that Bhishma and Drona would be on his side. So do we know why the reason? So the reason was, anyone knows or I can tell? No problem.
Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
yes,
Jyoti
like
Mataji,
when
good.
Kauravas were misbehaving with Draupadi, then also he said, like Bhishma Pitama, nobody came up front and opposed on that time also.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
Duryodhan was
Mataji.
sure, like nobody is going to ask a question, whatever wrong things he is going to do.
Yes, Mataji, correct. When Draupadi was insulted, right, after the gambling match, so none of these elders, right, nor Drona or Bhishma, say utter a single word. Yeah. So though Draupadi was begging, but nobody came front. So he knew that so when situation was that bad and Drona and Bhishma did not utter anything, so he knew that they'll give the full support to him. Yeah. So that was one thing. So he does a comparison now, and then he's happy, saying that his strength is more. Yeah. So though he has fear, but with the conch shell blown by Bhishma, right? He gets some boosting, and then once the conch shell is blown by Bhishma, right? It is followed by the other charioteers and all the army, right? And his side, right? On the Kaurava side, everyone started blowing their conch shells, trumpets. There are different types of devices which they use during the war, right? So everything were blown on full strength from the Kaurava side. Okay. So that was from Duryodhana side. Okay. And the other thing also, yesterday we discussed that uh, Duryodhana, to boost the other warriors on his side, right? So saying that so they should not feel that they are left over, right? So he does again a diplomacy wherein he says that Bhishma is old and then he needs protection, and so you all have to protect him from all sides, cover him while he's fighting, and he may be lost during the fighting. Yeah, all these things he says. So that's how Duryodhana is. And then this is what is in the shloka 12, it's been discussed that Bhishma, out of compassion to cheer Duryodhana, blew the conch shell very loudly. Okay. And followed by everyone started with the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns. Yeah. And the other side, right? So once on the war side, right? So if one party starts this, right, and then the other party, the other side, the opponent also has to actually cheer up their own army, right? So once the conch shells were blown from the Pandava side, right? The Kaurava side, and then the Pandavas took up, and then they started blowing their transcendental conch shells. Yeah. So Krishna, Arjuna, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhimasena, all the brothers, right? So they picked up their own conch shells, and then they started blowing the conch shells. Yeah. So anyone remembers the name of the conch shell used by Lord Krishna?
Panchajanya.
Yeah, very good.
Panchajan,
And Arjuna?
Devdatta.
Yeah, correct. So thank you. So this is these are the other conch shells. So I think if you remember these two, for now it will be great. And other things you can remember. So it is good to remember at least these. But these were the different conch shells, and these were having transcendental vibrations. Yeah. So the moment the conch shells were blown from the Kauravas side, right, from the Pandavas side, right, Kauravas felt the heat, or say they got kind of disappointed. Yeah, say with the conch shells which were blown. Yeah, and say they were feeling somewhat like not say not completely defeated, but they got some signals like, and so their hearts got trembling and all those things. They felt the positive vibes, right? Because this fight was between dharma and adharma, right? So on one side there was adharma, and other side there was dharma. And one more thing, so I'm not sure whether I discussed this yesterday. No, we didn't. So before the war, right? Both Krishna and Arjuna, both Arjuna and Duryodhana went to Krishna. Okay. So, and so there was an offer which was given by Krishna, okay, to choose what do you want actually. And so actually Krishna was resting at that time, and Arjuna was sitting near his legs. Yeah. And Duryodhana was sitting near close to his head. And when Krishna woke up, right, he first saw Arjuna, and then when both of them came, then Krishna offered them, saying that the one side I'll give the army. So there were two options, that he'll give his army to one of them, and on the other side he'll be personally present and not fight. Okay. And then the first choice was given to Arjuna. Okay. Uh, so you might have, so what might have gone to Duryodhana, right? So the Duryodhana was thinking, what if he asks about the army? So he was very bewildered. But Arjuna, so being a pure devotee, right? So he said that, so we need only you. So he chose Krishna, and Duryodhana happily went with the army. Yeah. So this was also an offering which was given by Lord Krishna. Yeah. So, and the other thing is, there were a couple of signs of victory from the chariot which was driven by Lord Krishna, right? So there are a lot of signs of victory. Yeah? So we'll go through them. And so these are the different names, right, of Krishna and Arjuna, so which are being taken all throughout the first chapter. Yeah. And every time Arjuna takes Krishna's name in a purport, right, or in a verse, right? So he has a deep meaning into it. So at times he says Achyuta, oh infallible one. Yeah, at times he says Govinda, and he says Madhava. So every time he addresses Krishna with one of the names, right? So you'll see that. So there is a meaning also associated with it. So once you start reading Bhagavad Gita, right, you'll notice those things. Yeah. And Arjuna is conqueror of wealth, all these things. Yeah. And out of these names, do we know which is very dear to Krishna? Any guesses?
Partha.
Okay. Any other guesses?
Govind. Govind.
Okay.
Madhusudana.
Okay. Okay.
Sabyasachi.
Sabyasachi was Krishna Mataji. No, Arjuna Mataji,
Yes.
not Krishna. Okay.
And Dhananjaya Prabhuji.
That is for Arjuna Mataji. So Krishna, so in this, right, the son of Yashoda, right, Yashoda Nandan. So that is very dear to him. Yeah. So because the pastimes which he had with Yashoda Mataji are Yashoda Maya are different, right? So altogether they're in different things. If you want to read those details, right, we have the Krishna book, so wherein you'll find so many pastimes of Lord Krishna. Yeah. And so this is what has happened. So once the conch shells were blown, right, from the Pandava side, Duryodhana's team or the Kaurava's heart got shattered because they got the signals, right? So they got the signals of defeat. Okay. Because those conch shells were transcendental and the sound generated, right? So it had an effect. Okay. And so now we'll look at Arjuna, right? So Arjuna and Lord Krishna were on a chariot, so with the white horses and on the battlefield. Yeah. And so they had a couple of signs of victory already. So do we know what those signs of victory are? Anyone?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
One after the other. So
Yes, sir.
maybe first, Pankaj Prabhu, you can go with one, and then we'll give chance to others also. Yeah, you can tell one.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So one sign that was that the what I have read is the chariot had folded, like above the chariot there was a flag of Hanumanji present. So that is mentioned in Gita, that is one sign of the victory. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
correct. Who was other Mataji? Who is it? Shefali Mataji? Is it you? You wanted to?
The wherever God Lord Rama is the deity of goddess of wealth is always there. So again there is a significance that he will always gain victory.
Yeah. So Mataji says that so Krishna is none other than Ram. Yeah. So there is always victory. Yeah. Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
And now we'll go to Atmaja
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare
Because
Krishna
they
Mataji.
blow a transcendental conch shell, and
Yeah.
because of that, Kauravas became in so much fear. That's the sign of a defeat also.
Yeah. So you are referring to conch shells. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. And
Um,
Snigdha Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So the Pandavas have completely surrendered to the God, Lord Sri Krishna. So this is another victory sign.
Okay. Hare Krishna Mataji. Who is this Zoom user, Mataji or Prabhuji?
It was
sorry, it is Ranjini. I have
Oh,
not
Ranjani.
renamed.
So maybe you can rename Mataji.
Yes, I'm just renaming it.
Okay, that's fine. So you go ahead, Mataji. You tried twice, but I thought that that is something system one, so I didn't actually look at it.
Okay.
But yeah, you can go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. The place itself where they were fighting the war, it was Dharma Kshetra, which so that itself was a very auspicious place where only dharma can win, and Arjuna was on the side of dharma.
Correct. Hare Krishna Mataji. It's
Hare
the
Krishna.
place of which got Kurukshetra. Yeah. Sukant Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavats.
Prabhuji, the last sloka of the Bhagavad Gita, it says clearly that Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Patra Dhanurdhara Tatra
Yeah.
Sri Vijay Bhuti to Dhruvaniti Mutir Mamaha. So
Yeah.
I think this is the point is clear that where Yogeshwar Krishna is there and where Dhanurdhar Arjuna is there. Krishna and Arjuna is the biggest sign of their victory, I believe.
Yes. Okay. And who else? Aishara Mataji, I saw your hand raised. You want to tell something, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, the Gandiva, the bow which Arjuna had, and also that day was Moksha the Ekadasi day.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic point, Mataji. So that was also a pious day, right? So it was an Ekadashi, yeah. And you all covered, but I believe you didn't cover the chariot, right? The chariot
Yes,
which was presented by Agni Deva, right? So it could pierce into any location very fast, yeah. That was something which was missing, but we'll
And
just look in.
Lakshmi, and Lord
Yeah, and
Lakshmi was
goddess of
always.
Lakshmi, yeah. So wherever we have Krishna, then the goddess of fortune also will be there, yeah. So we'll just see them in the text format, yeah. So Arjuna's flag on chariot had the emblem of Hanumanji, right? So because Hanumanji helped Ram in the victory, right? So wherever we have the signs of Hanumanji, so then we have the victory sign, right? So he's one of the exalted devotees, right? So I think he's one of the devotee, right? Say wherein he does, he has so much of seva bhav, and he never asked for any benedictions from Ram, right? So very unusual to get such a devotee, yeah? And so also Lord Krishna was present, so which we discussed, right? And hence Arjuna's victory is assured. So these are the things, yeah. So Krishna's personal presence, okay. So wherever the Lord is present, right? So he has come onto this material world to establish dharma, right? So always the victory would be there. So the first thing is when there is Krishna, then there is victory, for sure. Yeah. And goddess of fortune. So wherever Lord Krishna is there, so then goddess of fortune also follows him. Yeah. So we can't separate them. And then so we discussed about venue, the Kurukshetra. Yeah. And these are transcendental conch shells, symbols of Vishnu. So the conch shell is one of the symbols of Vishnu, Hanumanji. Yeah. And so this is okay. Agni Deva's chariot. Yeah. And shattering of hearts. So this is these are the signs of victories which the Pandavas had in. Okay. Wherein the other side they didn't have all these things. Yeah. And so the other thing is the next verse, right? In the verse 21, right? Arjuna, who is prepared for the war, right? So he's ready on the chariot. And then he actually asks Krishna to actually pull the chariot. And then in the midst of the war, so wherein so both the parties are there, right? He just wanted to see with whom he needs to fight. Yeah. So he wanted to see who's the opponent. So he asked Lord Krishna to actually place his chariot there. But here, say Arjuna calls Krishna as Achyuta. Okay. And so the meaning is also there. So it is mentioned as infallible one. So which means that one who never fails in his affection to his devotees. So do we know what is the significance here? Say why is Lord Krishna called as Achyuta here? Anyone can raise your hand. Okay, there are 2 participants. Very good. Okay, so this time we'll give Rajni Mataji first, and then Pankaj Prabhu next you. Yeah. So because you have been answering couple of them, so let us give the preference to Rajni Mataji first. Rajni Mataji, you can go ahead. Okay. I'm not sure if she is not able to
Yeah,
speak. Yeah,
sorry,
okay.
there was a problem in unmuting.
Yeah, no problem. Good.
Yeah. So why he's referring as Achyuta, right?
Yeah.
So Achyuta will be like a person who can conquer anything over, conquer over the evil.
Okay. Pankaj Prabhu, what are your thoughts? Thank you, Mataji. Rajni Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So we know that Arjun was a devotee of Lord Krishna, and he has been a very dear friend for Krishna also. So he knows that whatever happens, Krishna is infallible. So he's not like a other conditioned soul who falls for the all the senses, all the he's a conqueror of all those 5 senses. So
But
that one of
conqueror of 5 senses is a
Rishikesh.
different word, right, Prabhu?
Yeah, for that he used Rishikesh. But yes, Prabhuji, I can understand. Like since Arjuna had all faith on Krishna, so that is why he called him as a Achyuta.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Jyoti Mataji, you want to go ahead next?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. This is Achitta means infallible one, means Lord never fails to help the devotees when they are in trouble and need the support. He never leaves them.
Yeah. Okay. Possibly we'll take one more. Yeah. I see that Santosh Prabhu wants to actually speak. Then Sukant Prabhu, I'll come to you because you have been speaking. I'll just take one who has not spoken. Santosh Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Prabhu, what I
Krishna.
feel is here Krishna has taken the role of a charioteer. So he is driving the chariot of Arjuna.
Yeah.
So whatever position he takes, it doesn't matter because he's not going to fall from his position of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
Secondly, for a devotee, he is always there for a devotee. So that's why it is said that Krishna is Achyuta.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Sukant Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah.
Prabhuji. So Krishna is addressed as infallible one because here Arjuna, the doubt starts creeping up into in him with whom he is going to fall. So basically he's expecting any suggestions from Krishna without Krishna falling down from his position. So Krishna being in his own position, he will give a suggestion which will be beneficial for him. That's how I believe.
Yeah. Thank you all for your answers. Yeah, I think say most of us came close, but I'll just tell you. So infallible is one who never fails in affection to his devotees. Yeah. So in this case, if you see, right, Lord Krishna took the position of a charioteer, right? So, and for a devotee, right, he's ready to take the position of a charioteer also, right? So that is the kind of affection he has towards his devotees, yeah. And he's ready to take the orders from Arjuna because Arjuna is the fighter, right? And then as he orders, right, the charioteer has to move in. So he's ready to take that role also. So this is for the pure pleasure of the devotees. Okay. So he does this for the pleasure, and this is very transcendental. Yeah. So, and as other Prabhu said, right, it doesn't mean that say he has lost his position. Yeah. He is always the supreme personality of Godhead, but yeah. So out of affection for the devotees, right, at times he takes such roles. Yeah. So thank you all for your responses. Yeah. And if you see the same thing, right? Lord Krishna, out of love and costless mercy, accepted position of a charioteer. So Lord Krishna takes pleasure. So unalloyed pure devotees, right? So who are in the transcendental devotional path, right? So for them, he does all these things. But here in the purport, Prabhupada has clearly mentioned that that does not mean that his position is challenged. Yeah. So he is always the supreme person. Yeah. And was that right? The same thing. Say Arjuna is a pure devotee and a soft-hearted person. Yeah. So he's a saintly person actually. Because in the past, right, the kings or the rulers who were there, right? So they were Raj Rishis. They are not only trained in chivalry, right? So they had shastric knowledge also. So at that time, the kind of dharma and all they used to perform, right? It was as per the shastra. They used to follow the shastric evidences and everything, right? So he was very soft-hearted in that sense, but it doesn't mean that he can't conquer anyone. Yeah. So he's he can if left right, he alone can actually defeat all the armies. Yeah. Say he was so powerful. So he has no desire to fight. So he wanted to see who are the other side, right? So and then he wanted to see the supporters who are there on the other side, right? So here Prabhupada writes that so on the other side, right? So on the Kaurava side, right? All the like-minded people were assembled. So in the English, there is a saying, right? Birds of same feather flip-flop. So that's the uh, analogy which is being used. So birds of same flock fly together. Yeah. So that is what is meant here. So here, right? After the instructions from Arjuna, right? Arjuna's desire was that the chariot should be moved, and Lord Krishna places the chariot uh, in front of the opponent. Yeah, and then so here again, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Yeah, so is nothing but one who has conquered sleep or ignorance. So the reason Arjuna is called as Gudakesha, right? So because he has conquered the ignorance. So he's a pure devotee, right, of Krishna. So he is in complete trance, and then he thinks of Krishna all the time. Yeah? So that's the more meaning of Gudakesha. And in the verse 25th, right, in the verse 25th, Krishna speaks for the first time in the chapter 1. Okay. After placing the chariot, right, he says that behold Arjuna. So he says that behold the Kuru's Arjuna. Okay. So he knows that what is happening in Arjuna's heart, right? Because he resides as Paramatma, right? Everywhere. So he could understand what is going on in Arjuna's mind and what is his feelings are. So with a smile, he says that behold the Kurus. So that's the one. So he says, you see, here Lord Krishna jokingly said, just behold, see with attention. Yeah. So now the chariot is in the midst of the fight, so where both the opponents are present. And say here, now Arjuna sees, right, from the chariot, from the opponent side, right, he sees all his relatives. Yeah. He could see his grandfathers, teachers, well-wishers, his maternal uncles, yeah, brothers, sons, grandsons, everyone are present on the field. Yeah? So, so here the examples are given. So grandfathers like Bhishma, Somudatta, teachers like Dronacharya, Kripacharya, maternal uncles, brothers, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwathama, and all others, right? So they were all there. Okay. So then Arjuna actually gets a little bit bewildered. So he actually, as he has a soft heart, right? He thinks, okay, after seeing all of them, right, his mind started changing. So until then, he was ready to fight with the bows and arrows. So now we'll see one after the other, right? She addresses so many things for the bewilderment, yeah. So Arjuna, after seeing them, right, he becomes compassion, right? Seeing the opponents, right? So he sees that I have to fight with my own relatives and kinsmen, right? So by looking at them, he gets totally shattered, yeah. And the next portion, right, from 28 to 46, right, we'll see Arjuna's doubts, yeah. And then Arjuna will say that I don't want to fight. Okay. So he'll come to a situation wherein he'll say that I'm okay if the opponent kills me without having any weapons in my hand. Okay. So he goes to that stage also. And then even he says that I'll go to the forest, but I'll not fight with these elderly people. Yeah. So he has so many doubts, which we'll see in one verse after the other, right? So all these verses are Arjuna's doubts. Yeah. So looking at the army at the other side. So looking at the other side, right? His limbs of the body starts quivering. Yeah. And his mouth gets dried up. The reason is sympathy and compassion, right? So he was thinking materially, right? So all these are my relatives. So he went into the relationship of all his relatives, and then he was thinking on the material platform. Yeah. So he was actually astonished to see how can I fight with them. Yeah. So that is where Arjuna's symptoms started. Yeah. So if we see here, right, so the compassion, right, is one of the characteristics of a pure devotee. Okay. So he could see, and then even in our case also, right, so when there is a tense situation, right, say there is some bad news which happens, right, say if we hear a bad news, or there is something very awkward situation, right, which you'll have to face in our day-to-day life also, we also face the same challenge, right? Say, like same thing, right? Our body also quivers and our mouth gets dried up, and then our legs and hands will shiver and all those things, right? So all these symptoms are there. So by looking at them, right, out of compassion, he was actually thinking, whom should I fight with? Yeah. And his skin also started burning. Yeah. So these are all the symptoms. So in here, right, so he is actually Arjuna actually, though he's a pure devotee, right, for this movement, right, during that time of the war, right, he takes the for some time he thinks in a material form. Okay. So he doesn't think anything spiritual. So he thinks in the material platform what will happen. So all these symptoms have come to him. Yeah. So though Krishna is actually sitting as a charioteer 1 feet behind him. So he has forgotten that, and then he's going into the material platform. Yeah. So this is Arjuna actually was made to think like that by Lord Krishna. Yeah. Had Arjuna not thought of it, right? So then Bhagavad Gita will never come, or we'll never get this Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So that scene was created by Lord himself, so that he instructs Arjuna, and then we get those learnings in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So you see, this is the material conception of life, wherein the heart start burning, and then even the Gandiva was slowly slipping from his hand. Yeah. And so if you look in, right, so here in the verse 1.30, right, so if you look, right, the weakness of mind is being discussed here. Yeah. So by Krishna's will, so Arjuna got these all symptoms. Yeah. The excessive fearlessness, mental, he lost the mental equilibrium, all these things. Yeah. And then he felt that he was getting frustrated, and he was thinking that why am I here? Yeah. So that happens to all of us, right? So when we have only frustration, and so we think that why am I in this position, right? So the reason we get into that mode is we are always interested in the welfare of our own self. Yeah. But our real interest should be to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Yeah. So we don't think from that angle. So we think that say we own everything, and so we have some expectations, and everything should match. Yeah. So that's the thing. And then in this verse, Arjuna calls Krishna as Keshava, and because Keshava name was derived when Lord Krishna killed the demon Keshi, and Arjuna also thinks that now Krishna should kill the demon which of doubts which he's having. Okay, so that is discussed here. Okay, and this is a beautiful purport. You can read it when you have time. Yeah, and these are all the symptoms of compassion. Yeah, they like limbs quivering, mouth drying up, whole body, and then this is all in the form of the material platform, and then he sees only misfortune. Yeah, say with the fight, right? And then he actually describes further. The first thing is, he say, first thing, he has compassion about killing the soldiers on both the sides, right? And then he feels that and the relatives, right? How can one enjoy the kingdom even, wherein first thing, none of the relatives also will be there, right? So he actually briefs more here. Okay, and so he says that there is no happiness. So what is the fun in killing my own relatives and kinsmen? Yeah. um, so he doesn't buy the argument of killing others. Yeah. So and then he says that as he's not interested, right, say in the fight, so he decides it's better to go to a forest and live a renounced order of life. Yeah. But one thing is that Arjuna is a Kshatriya, right? So he can't do that. Though he feels that he should do it, but it's not possible for a Kshatriya, because Kshatriyas are meant to rule. Yeah. And so this is some criteria which is being given. Either a Kshatriya, if he dies in the battlefield under Krishna's orders, he is eligible to go to the sun planet, or if he has renounced his order, right, they are eligible to enter the sun planet. Okay. So all in all, the basic thing is Arjuna forgets for a moment, right? For a couple of minutes, he forgets his own moral codes, and then he starts thinking at the material platform. Okay. And even he says that I'm not ready to fight, even if you give me in exchange of 3 worlds to live about the earth. Even if you give me all 3 worlds also, right? I'm not interested to fight. Okay. He actually tells to Krishna that I'm not interested to fight. If you give me all the universes also, right? If you make me the king of all universes also, I'm not interested. Okay. So that is how Arjuna thinks here, right? And then he says that there is no point in fighting. Okay. And then in this purport, right? Actually, our Krishna is addressed as Madhusudana. Okay. And he is the killer of Madhu. And he is expecting, so Krishna, so Arjuna is expecting that Krishna killed the demon, right? Arjuna is expecting that Krishna would kill his doubts like demons. So this is there. But on the other hand, Krishna is expecting Arjuna to kill his relatives, not demons. Okay. So this is something being told. And this is, if you look in, right, this diagram, right? So mostly what the living entity thinks is he actually orders, right? Say all the time, right? It's like he asks something to the Lord, and then he wants that all his requests should be fulfilled, right? So even here, people say, right, man proposes and God disposes, right? So that is what the mentality is. People think that so whatever we ask, right? The Lord doesn't have any work, and then he's only an order supplier. Okay. But in the real terms, right, we should actually satisfy him. Okay. If we satisfy him, right, automatically we'll get the other things. Okay. So that's the spiritual understanding. Okay. So the devotees are ready to accept any opulence Krishna wants. Okay. And then they don't complain if Krishna does not desire. Okay. So that is how one should understand. Okay. And then even if the Lord thinks, right, if the Lord wants something to happen, it will happen. And if he doesn't want to happen, it will not happen. Yeah. So it is in his hands. Even there is a Bengali proverb, right? So which people use like Rake Krishna Mare Krishna Rake. If Krishna decides to annihilate someone, no one can stop. Yeah. And then if Krishna wants to save someone, no one can stop it. Okay. And so in this case, right, even Arjuna is ready to forget. So being the kind-hearted, right? He wants to forget. He forgave his relatives, but due to the mischiefs which were done from the other end to the pure devotees, right? Lord Krishna was actually determined to punish them. Okay, there was no second thought to it. Yeah, and in the next section, he says that actually Arjuna further goes into deep into philosophy, and then he says that these are the 6 aggressors. Okay, to him, to whom if you kill also, right, you will not accomplish any sinful reactions. So one is the poison giver, or one who sets the fire to the house, right? And one who attacks with deadly weapons, or one who plunders riches, and one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps another's wife, right? Any of these 6 aggressors, right, they can be killed. Okay. And then you will not incur any sinful reaction. Yeah. So killed in the sense we should not take swords and start killing, but yeah, the Kshatriyas and the lawmakers, and they can do that. Okay. So, but in here, right? So these are all these things happened. So if you look in, right, all these things happened to the Pandavas, but still Arjuna is very saintly, and then he says that we should forgive them because they are my relatives. Okay, because in all these cases, right, so the poison givers and all, they may not be relatives, but Arjuna says that his case is special, wherein he has all the relatives and the kingsmen, but still he says that we should forgive them. Okay. And he further argues what will happen if at all we kill them, right? The family traditions will be broken up, there will be destruction. Yeah, there will be no elderly people, right, to guide. So usually in the past, right, even now there are a couple of traditional families wherein all the instructions are followed from the elderly people, they consult the elderly people. But yes, the quantity is very less these days because everyone is independent. But in the past, there were people who used to guide, okay, the young generation. So he was saying that when the old generation is not there, say, how will the young generation be guided? And then how will they take the rightful path? Yeah. He says that it will be, the war will lead to destruction of family, and then he doesn't see any benefit. Okay. So that's one thing which is being discussed here. And then he goes into the varnashrama systems also. These are 16 samskaras, so which goes through one's life. So this is okay. I think you can see these things afterwards. Yeah. And here he says the other thing is there will be failures of varnashrama system. Yeah. So as I said, right, the elders, there will be death of elders, and then there will be no one to guide the younger ones. Yeah. So they'll not know which path to choose, and then they may follow the irreligious path. Yeah. And then there will be religion prevalent in the society. Yeah. So he was thinking in that angle, and then he thinks of the woman also. So there will be widowed women. Yeah. And say the next progeny also will be mixed up progeny, right? So which is not good for the society. Yeah? And mm, even he goes further, and then he says that when there is a lot of irreligion in the society, right, the young generations will not do the pinda pradhan and all those things, right? So which is nothing but the offerings which we do to the elders who have passed away in the family, right? Say even he thinks till that, okay, saying that what will happen to them if the younger generation might not do all these rituals, and then they'll be starving. Yeah. Say because once in a year, right, say all these rituals are done, and then the prasadam which is offered is actually fed to them. Yeah. So which will actually sanctify them there of their reactions and all those things, right? So he was thinking who will do all those things, and then there'll be a lot of irreligious people, and due to irreligiosity, right, everyone will go to the hellish planets. Yeah. So he has actually looked forward in so many angles. Yeah, and there'll be there'll be irresponsible leaders, yeah, in the society who themselves don't know what is religion, what is dharma, what is adharma. Yeah, when we don't have all these guidances, the greediness, all those things will come up, and then they'll not look up for the traditions, any values, nothing. And when the leader himself doesn't have those values, so what values will he give to the others? Yeah. So when the leader is incorrect, right, the other generations also will start following him. Yeah. And so he says that there will be no chastity of woman. Yeah. So there will be a lot of instability. So he goes into, say, he describes here the hellish conditions of family. Yeah. Ancestors will not be delivered, so which we spoke in. Yeah. And then elders will not be there, women will be polluted, and then so there will be so many things he thinks of. Yeah. And so this is a brief of the verses from 39 to 42, right? So how the degradation of the society happens. This is given in an diagram, yeah, in a pictorial format, so wherein the superiors would be killed, and then there will be destruction of the dynasty, yeah, and the religion will predominate, women will become unchaste, yeah, unwanted progeny, Varna Shankara, and all these things, right? So which we spoke in, right? So he had all these things, yeah. So Arjuna was thinking all these angles, you see, and so there are a couple of verses. Yeah, I think these are the ones. With this, we'll uh, have Arjuna's reasons, yeah, for his soft-heartedness, and then we'll end this chapter. So here, Arjuna is fearful of sinful reactions. And the other point he mentions in one of the verses is, he says that though they don't know, so the other side, right? Say other sides are greedy, and say they don't know what is the religion. Say they have forgotten that what is dharma, and say their eyes are actually, they're not looking at the dharma side, and then they're only looking out of greed. So we should actually ignore them and then leave it. Okay. So he is even compassionate to them, saying that the other side, say they have got a masking of greed. So, but we know what will happen after this war. So this war will only end up in destruction. Yeah. So he says, why should we engage when we know, right? So this is only for temporary gain, right? Yeah. And he even points in one of the verses that, see, when none of them are there, right? So what kind of king, if he gets that kingdom also, right? How will he enjoy? Because even if you look us, right? So when we buy an house or anything, right? So we would like to show it to our relatives, friends, and all, right? So he says that when no one is there, what will we enjoy, right? With the kingdom. So he gives multiple reasons, yeah. And then afterwards, he says that he will not fight, and then he's ready even if the opponent kills him when he doesn't have weapons in his hand, yeah. So he's ready to go to the either he's ready to go to the forest, or he's ready to be killed also. But he says that he'll not fight with them, yeah. And then these are the saintly qualities of Arjuna. Okay. So Arjuna is all in all these verses, right? So we see that Arjuna is soft-hearted, right? So he's very saintly person, and then he doesn't want to kill even for the exchange of 3 worlds. Okay. And he's ready to forgive the aggressors. Okay. And he consider evil consequences, which we spoke at a length, right? Saying that what will happen to the family traditions and all, right? And then he is ready to be killed as unarmed. Okay. And he'll not retaliate. Uh, so, but and the other thing is he keeps his bow down, yeah, and he sits on the chariot, and so this ends the chapter 1. In the chapter 2, we'll see what happens next. Yeah. So this will start in the next session on next Saturday. Yes. This ends the chapter 1. If you have any queries, so we can go ahead with these queries. Yeah. Hare Krishna. And Aishwarya Mataji has shared the attendance link. Please mark your attendances if you have not done so. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand, digital hand. Okay. Hare Krishna, Rajni Mataji, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sorry that I missed my class yesterday. So maybe you would have told like how the class works, but I would like to understand. I'm sorry, like I missed it yesterday.
Okay, Mataji, there is a recording which you shared yesterday. I went in detail, so
Okay.
I'll just give you a brief. So we'll have 18 weeks for 18 chapters, Mataji. Okay.
Okay.
And rest all you can follow through the video, Mataji. You can check the video. So Aishwarya Mataji has already posted it. So therein we discussed all the details, Mataji. Any other specific doubts if you have, you can tell me. I'll clarify.
Okay, Prabhuji. I'll go through that and then maybe I'll if there's any questions.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Malashri, Mataji, you can unmute yourself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This attendance we need to apply daily, like we need to mark it daily.
Yes, Mataji. Whenever you are attending the class, right? So you'll have to update.
Okay.
Mataji, every Saturday and Sunday you have to mark your attendance.
Acha, yes, ma'am.
During this 1 hour session, yeah.
Yeah, Chaturmas starts from tomorrow, right? I already started it.
Yes, yes, Mataji. And you'll get those messages also. Aishwarya Mataji, I believe we had one message, right? So
Yes, Prabhuji.
what
It will be
to-
shared.
yeah.
It will be shared now after the class.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Chaturmas is starting from tomorrow. So the fasting details, everything will be posted in the group.
Yeah. So just follow the group chat. You'll get those messages. We had one, but yeah, by then our class was not started, so you didn't get that message. But yes, you'll get it. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Shaifali Mataji, you have
Yeah, Hare
question?
Krishna. Throughout
Mataji.
Bhagavad Gita, transcendental word is used in many, many different ways. So what
Mataji.
is the meaning?
The simplest meaning is spiritual, Mataji. Okay. Say we are living in a material world and the other planet, right? So the upper planets are all spiritual. Okay.
Yes.
So that is transcendental. So anything which we cannot see through our physical eyes is transcendental, Mataji.
Right. That's the definition, but it is used in so many different ways throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So
Yeah. So it depends, say, like depending upon the purport, right? So we'll have to analyze and then say we'll have to use it. Yeah, Mataji. So if you have anything specific, right, so where you want to understand, so we'll see. Basically, wherever it is transcendental, right? So just read it as spiritual, okay? And then so it is not on the material plane. It's on a different plane. Yeah.
okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pankaj Prabhu, you had something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat
Yes.
Pranam.
Dandavat.
Prabhuji, yesterday you explained like from Bhagavad Gita we can learn many things. Like one such example you told like time management and etc. So Prabhuji, like we have been often hearing that many like in many schools also they are starting, or many MBA schools also they are starting to like they are thinking to implement Bhagavad Gita in their course curriculum.
Yes. Yes.
But Prabhuji, can you explain, like now we completed the first chapter. So from the first chapter, like if I am a kind of MBA student, or like how will I be like what learning would be there for a student, because here we are much more focused on the a spiritual process, like getting close to Krishna. But when
Yeah.
it comes to a student who is like getting is trying to build his career, and again it's not just a same religion. There can be students of multiple religion where they have their own aspects of what God is. And so in that way, in that sense, how it is like how it can be applied so that they don't think that Krishna is something different, or because they clashes may occur, like they would think that things different way. So how like it is used in the Thank you, Prabhuji. So this was actually, I was very curious because I have my many friends. So to explain them the Bhagavad Gita concept has been very, very, very difficult for me because either they are non-devotees or they belong to some different religion. So at that time, like I get very much like I usually I don't get breakdown, but yeah, seeing them like it comes sometimes difficult. So yeah, so I thought I should seek your help for this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so the classes which are taken to the MBA graduates or the ones which we take in colleges, right? That will be a little bit different. Yeah. For them, right? So you cannot go and teach them Bhagavad Gita directly. Yeah. So there will be bridge classes for them. Okay. So like science and spirituality, right? So all those topics will be brought in. Okay. Um, okay. And then they'll be slowly bought into this thing. Okay. Because when we are in college or a common place, right, where you said, then there will be different people, right? And then there will be atheists also who do not believe the God, because the education system which we have got now, right, it only teaches that, right, how to enjoy the material world, and then how to satisfy our senses. That is the whole focus of our educational system. So in there, right, so nobody goes directly and then starts the way we start here in, right, because they need some bridge classes. So for them, right, it will be like Darwin's theory, and then there'll be a lot of theories which will be spoken, and then slowly they'll come onto the spirituality. Yeah. So because you are all level 2, right, you have all done level 1, you understand what is spiritual life and all those things, right? Hence we are actually going in a devotional way. Yeah. But for them, right, because that's a mix of atheists and devotees, and then as you said, right, so there are mixed people. So the material and the classes would be different. Even Prabhu, on the internet also, right, you can actually search science and spirituality by Namnist Prabhu, right? If you can search that, so there are sequence of videos which he has done, okay, for bridge classes, and even there are personality development classes and all those things, right? So those bridge classes are there. If you listen them, right, so you can actually get more details about that. Yeah. And about dealing about others, right, Prabhu, uh, say Bhagavad Gita, right, don't discuss with others who don't have interest or who disregard Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So let's leave them, but whosoever is interested, right, so with them we can discuss. And then in the beginning only, right, say, one of the Prabhu, right, who was it? Was it Shaunak Prabhu, or he said, right, the okay, he said Yatri Yogeshwara, right? And at the end Krishna says, right, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. Prabhu, so that itself says that say give up all other activities, and then you only have to focus on me. Yeah. So if anyone asks, then you can tell them, you can quote that verse if you want to tell. Yeah. And if you look right in Bhagavad Gita, this Bhagavad Gita is not specific to any religion. Yeah. It is never spoken based on one religion. It is for all. Hope this answers you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, it does. Yeah, thanks for that. The channel which you mentioned here. I'll go through that YouTube links, and yeah, I'm very curious to know how we can actually help develop personality. Also.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and in the first chapter, right? So if you see, right, the crux is doubt, right? Everyone has a doubt in life, right? And then so what happens when we have doubts? We get bewildered. We get into different angles. We start thinking of so many things. Yeah. So if you want to sum up, the first chapter is nothing but doubt. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll wind up the class. Matajis and Prabhujis, thank you for joining in. Vancha kalpatarovyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare